You know, most lives aren't destroyed by one big mistake. They're destroyed quietly, over time, by small habits repeated every day. And when it comes to money, there is one invisible line almost nobody crosses. One number where everything begins to work differently. This mistake destroyed his life in 5 years. Not because he was lazy or unlucky, but because he never understood what happens before that line and after it. Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, lived through market crashes, depressions and fortunes won and lost. What he learned wasn't flashy and it wasn't exciting, but it was brutally honest. Wealth doesn't come from intelligence alone. It comes from discipline surviving boredom. Most people believe staying broke is about low income. They think if they just earned more, everything would fix itself. That belief is comforting, but it's false. Graham watched brilliant, high-earning professionals retire with nothing, and he watched ordinary people earning modest salaries quietly build lasting wealth. The difference was never talent. It was behavior during the slow years. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. The early stage of building wealth feels pointless. You save month after month, and nothing seems to change. You sacrifice dinners, vacations, comfort and status, and your bank balance barely moves. You look around and see other people living better lives, or at least lives that look better on the surface. This is where doubt creeps in. This is where people quit. Imagine a man earning an average income, nothing special, no inheritance, no lucky break. He commits to saving consistently, not aggressively, not perfectly, just consistently. After 1 year, he looks at his account and sees a number that feels insulting compared to the effort he put in. The excitement he expected never arrives. Instead, he feels behind. This is the moment where most financial journeys die. What he doesn't realize is that he's standing on the flattest part of an exponential curve. At the beginning, progress is almost invisible. It feels like walking uphill in the fog. You're moving, but you can't see it yet. Most people mistake invisibility for failure. Benjamin Graham understood something critical here. The market rewards patience not because patience is noble, but because patience is rare. Humans are wired to react, to compare, to consume now instead of later. And the financial system quietly profits from this weakness. The first serious shift happens around the same place for almost everyone, roughly $20,000. Not because the number itself is magical, but because of what it represents. Before this point, you are doing all the work. After it, your money begins to participate. Below that line, returns are meaningless. A small percentage on a small amount feels like nothing. You barely notice it. But psychologically, once your savings reach a level where returns become visible, something inside you changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who can't save. Your identity shifts. You sleep differently. You think differently. You're no longer one unexpected bill away from panic. Options begin to exist where none existed before. And most importantly, momentum begins. Here's the tragedy. Many people sabotage themselves right before this moment. They feel tired of waiting. They feel embarrassed by how slow it's going. They convince themselves they'll start again later, but later rarely comes. Graham warned that investors fail not because markets are unpredictable, but because humans are. They panic when they should wait. They act when they should sit still. They abandon sound plans out of boredom, envy, or impatience. The truth is uncomfortable. Building wealth is dull at the beginning. There is no applause, no validation, just quiet discipline while the world encourages you to spend. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong investments. They fail because they refuse to endure the waiting. And the waiting is the price. Once that first threshold is crossed, the math slowly changes. The effort required to grow no longer comes entirely from your labor. Your capital begins to share the burden. This is where compounding stops being theoretical and starts becoming real. But almost no one gets there, because surviving the flat part of the curve requires something modern society doesn't teach: the ability to delay gratification while feeling left behind. And this is only the beginning. Most people never realize that money problems are rarely mathematical. They are emotional. Benjamin Graham saw this repeatedly. Two people could follow the same plan, invest in the same assets, earn similar returns, and still end up in completely different places. The difference was never intelligence. It was temperament. One of the most dangerous moments in personal finance arrives when you are doing everything right and still feel behind. You're saving. You're investing cautiously. You're avoiding obvious mistakes. Yet someone else seems to be racing ahead. This is where envy enters, quietly and destructively. Graham warned that comparing results without understanding risks is one of the fastest ways to destroy a sound strategy. Envy pushes people to abandon discipline. It whispers that slow progress means failure. It convinces rational adults to take irrational risks just to feel like they're keeping up. A neighbor buys a new car. A colleague brags about a speculative investment that doubled overnight. Social media shows a carefully edited version of wealth that hides debt, stress, and fragility. And suddenly your steady plan feels inadequate. This is how people with solid foundations collapse their own future. They chase returns they don't understand. They spend money meant for compounding. They trade patience for excitement. And when it goes wrong, they blame the market, the economy, or bad luck. But the real cause was emotional impatience. Benjamin Graham believed the market exists to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. That transfer doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens slowly, through repeated small decisions. Every time someone abandons a conservative plan for a risky shortcut, someone else quietly benefits. Another trap that keeps people permanently stuck is self-pity. It often disguises itself as realism. People tell themselves the system is rigged, that others had advantages they never will, that starting late makes success impossible. Graham didn't deny that life is unfair. He simply understood that self-pity produces zero positive outcomes. Feeling sorry for yourself doesn't increase income. It doesn't reduce expenses. It doesn't improve judgment. It only drains energy that could be used to make progress. And worse, it creates passivity. People stop acting because they believe action won't matter. Graham's approach was simple and ruthless. Focus only on what you can control, spending less than you earn, avoiding unnecessary risk, investing with a margin of safety, remaining emotionally stable when others lose their heads. None of this is exciting. All of it works. This is why income alone is a terrible predictor of wealth. High earners often inflate their lifestyles until there is nothing left to save. Low earners who maintain discipline slowly accumulate capital. The arithmetic does not care how impressive your job title sounds. It only cares about the difference between what comes in and what goes out. History is full of talented people who earned fortunes and lost them. Musicians, athletes, executives, celebrities, they all believed their income made them immune to basic rules. It never does. Money that leaves faster than it arrives will always disappear, no matter how much flows through your hands. The opposite is also true. Modest incomes, when managed carefully, create resilience. Savings provide breathing room. Breathing room provides better decisions. Better decisions compound just like money does. Once you understand this, the goal of reaching that first meaningful threshold becomes clear. It's not about status. It's not about comfort. It's about leverage over your own life. Before that point, every problem feels urgent because you have no buffer. After it, urgency fades. You can think. Thinking is a financial advantage most people never experience. This is also where Graham's emphasis on safety becomes critical. As savings grow, temptation grows with them. People begin to believe they are smarter than they are. They borrow to accelerate gains. They chase leverage to speed up the process. For a while it works. Leverage amplifies success just as easily as it amplifies failure. Graham watched brilliant investors destroy themselves this way, not because they were wrong about value, but because they underestimated risk. Borrowed money turns small mistakes into catastrophic ones. A single bad year can erase decades of progress. The cruel irony is that leverage is most tempting right after success begins. When confidence is high and fear feels distant, caution feels unnecessary. This is when discipline matters most. The slow path to wealth has one massive advantage. It only needs to work once. You don't have to win repeatedly. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to avoid ruin. Graham believed that avoiding stupidity mattered more than seeking brilliance. Survival was the foundation of all success. As capital grows, opportunities begin to appear that were invisible before, not because the world changes, but because your position in it does. You can wait. You can say no. You can take calculated risks instead of desperate ones. This is how money quietly alters power dynamics in your favor. But this advantage only belongs to those who stayed patient long enough to reach it. Most never do. They quit during boredom. They panic during volatility. They compare during someone else's highlight reel. And they reset their progress again and again, wondering why nothing ever sticks. Graham's lesson was never about beating the market. It was about mastering yourself. The math of compounding is simple. The psychology of enduring it is not. And that psychology becomes even more important as wealth begins to build. Because success introduces a new danger: complacency. When progress becomes visible, discipline feels less urgent. Small indulgences appear harmless. Expenses quietly rise. What once required effort now feels automatic. And if awareness fades, momentum slows without notice. This is where many people stall permanently. They don't collapse. They just stop moving forward. The final difference between those who achieve financial independence and those who don't is not ambition. It is consistency across decades, and that consistency depends on something most people underestimate: what you choose not to do. What ultimately separates lasting wealth from temporary success is not how much you make, but how long you can keep behaving rationally. Benjamin Graham believed that intelligence alone was never enough. Without patience and continuous learning, intelligence often becomes a liability rather than an advantage. As capital grows, the most valuable asset you possess is no longer money. It is judgment. And judgment improves only one way: through learning. The people who rise steadily over long periods are not always the most talented. They are the ones who keep refining their understanding while others stop. They read when others scroll. They study when others complain. They quietly compound knowledge the same way they compound money. Earning power is not fixed. It expands when skills expand. A modest salary today does not sentence you to a modest future unless you allow it to. Graham understood that markets change, industries evolve, and opportunities migrate. Those who keep learning adapt. Those who don't fall behind and blame circumstances. This is where patience and learning intersect. Patience keeps you invested long enough for compounding to work. Learning increases the size of the contributions feeding that compounding. Together they create momentum. That feels almost unfair to outsiders, who don't see the years of quiet preparation behind it. Another principle Graham emphasized was knowing your limits. Staying within your circle of competence is not a restriction. It is protection. Most financial disasters occur when people wander into areas they don't understand. Convinced confidence can replace knowledge. It can't. Confidence without understanding is just ignorance with enthusiasm. Wise investors don't need to understand everything. They only need to deeply understand a few things and avoid the rest. The goal is not to play every game. The goal is to play the ones where you have an edge and refuse the rest. Saying no is often the most profitable decision you can make. As wealth grows, temptation shifts form. Early on, temptation is spending. Later, it becomes complexity. Sophisticated products, clever strategies, and promises of optimization appear. The financial industry thrives on making simple things seem complicated. Complexity creates fees. Simplicity creates results. Graham's philosophy remained stubbornly simple throughout his life. Spend less than you earn. Save consistently. Invest with a margin of safety. Avoid debt that can destroy you. Ignore noise. Let time do the heavy lifting. None of this changes with technology, trends, or generations. What changes is the pressure to abandon it. The modern world rewards visibility. Quiet progress feels unsatisfying when everyone else appears to be winning loudly. But loud success often rests on fragile foundations. Debt, leverage, speculation. Appearances collapse faster than discipline. True wealth is boring from the outside. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It grows quietly while attention chases distraction. This is where the purpose of money finally becomes clear. It was never about luxury. It was about control over time and choice. Financial independence means being able to walk away from bad jobs, from toxic environments, from decisions made out of desperation. Without savings, every choice is constrained. With savings, choice expands. You can wait instead of rushing. You can negotiate instead of begging. You can invest long-term instead of scrambling short-term. This shift is subtle, but it is life-changing, and it begins much earlier than most people expect. That first meaningful threshold is not the finish line. It is the proof of concept. Evidence that discipline works. Evidence that progress compounds. Evidence that you are no longer trapped in pure survival mode. From there, the journey accelerates, not because effort disappears, but because effort becomes leveraged. Money starts contributing, knowledge starts guiding, experience starts protecting. But none of this happens if you interrupt the process. Every unnecessary sale resets compounding. Every emotional decision taxes future returns. Every abandonment of discipline delays freedom. Time is the most powerful force in finance, and time only works for those who give it permission. If there is one lesson worth carrying forward, it is this. Wealth is not built by doing extraordinary things. It is built by avoiding obvious mistakes for an extraordinarily long time. Avoid debt that traps you. Avoid envy that distracts you. Avoid impatience that tempts you. Avoid complexity that confuses you. Avoid self-pity that paralyzes you. What remains is simple, difficult, and effective. Spend less than you earn. Save something consistently. Invest prudently. Keep learning. Be patient. Stay within your competence. Let compounding work uninterrupted. The first $20,000 will feel harder than it should. You will question yourself. You will feel behind. You will be tempted to quit. Don't. Because once you cross it, something fundamental changes. Not just your finances, but your relationship with life. You move from reacting to choosing, from surviving to building, from hoping to knowing. And that quiet shift is where real wealth begins.